Man, this is going to be so much fun. When I spoke with Scott Reichler, co-founder of Gabriel Scott, I quickly realized his design journey wasn't linear, but layered. With a background in architecture, jewelry, and fashion, Scott brings that same sense of structure and detail into furniture and lighting design. He explained how the precision of jewelry, where every small move influences the whole, mirrors his architectural training, allowing him to think critically on both macro and micro levels. Lighting was a major theme in our conversation. Scott and I discussed how LED technology has completely shifted design possibilities, freeing designers from the limitations of older systems. No longer about blasting a room with light. The new approach is about using illumination strategically, whether it's enhancing a hospitality experience or subtly shaping a residential atmosphere. We also tackled the often overused labels in design, modern, traditional, and everything in between. Scott pushed back on the idea of rigid categories, noting that Gabriel Scott's pieces live comfortably in both sleek penthouses and classic homes. The goal, he said, is timeless versatility, not chasing a label. Man, totally agree with that. Scott also opened up about his creative process. His team of artisans develops intricate parts that are refined enough to feel bespoke, but adaptable enough to be assembled by everyday people. That means you and I. A kind of design language built for universal assembly, if you will. It's jewelry thinking applied to lighting and furniture, which is brilliant. Of course, no conversation about product design is complete without addressing knockoffs and dupes and boots, and Scott acknowledged the frustration of seeing his work duplicated, but emphasized the importance of strong contacts, local representation, and participating in trade shows like Milan Design Week to establish authenticity, which is genius. So, Scott was in Ibiza when we were talking. Little jealous, got to be honest. But relying on hotel Wi-Fi made for an early exit on his part. And I wanted to take an opportunity, because he and I were discussing this, is we wrapped up talking about the Triforium project in Los Angeles, reflecting on how lighting has evolved from mechanical systems in the 1970s to today's AI-driven adaptability. And for Scott, it's less about chasing technology for its own sake and more about how design, whether jewelry, furniture, or lighting, creates lasting experiences. And so when I lost him, I thought I would share the conversation about the Triforium in Los Angeles with you again to sort of round out our conversation. And you're going to hear all about it right after this. If you've listened to the show for any amount of time, you've heard me say this, that the most important word in the design industry is service. Product is important, price is important, selection is important, but stellar service is the premier idea that can make all the difference in the success of a project, any project. How design professionals like you demand great service and your favorite brands in one place with expert, knowledgeable, and non-commission sales professionals. It's really important. It means that their only incentive is your satisfaction. Pacific Sales, Kitchen and Home, a Best Buy company, has just that with over 60 years of experience in Southern California. Pacific Sales is your destination for exploration, advice, and inspiration. Now, you have the Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home team to help you and offer their Pro Rewards program, which is a trade program unlike any you have experienced before. Earn 3% in Best Buy gift cards, e-gift cards, or 2.5% in rewards checks for every qualified and delivered sale. In addition to special trade pricing, exclusive offers, access to exclusive special events, and so much more than I could possibly tell you about here. And the cherry on top is access to exclusive builder trade incentives from top brands and the stellar service, again, from a company that has been serving the industry for over 60 years. Terms and conditions apply to the Pro Rewards program and builder trade incentives. So visit a Pacific sales expert at a showroom today for full details and to learn how you can unlock additional savings and benefits. Don't miss out on the opportunity to work with the best of the best. Visit Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home today and elevate your projects to new heights. Where are you located? You're in Montreal?
No, I'm located in London, but I'm
Oh,
here
you're in
in
London.
I'm in Ibiza now.
Okay.
I'm in Spain.
You're in Spain now.
Yeah, yeah.
Very nice.
Very beautiful actually.
I'm sure. What part?
Ibiza?
Oh, fantastic.
Oh,
Excellent.
yes. The lyrics. Have you been before?
Ibiza, no, but I've
Okay,
been across Spain, but I've not been to Ibiza.
it's nice. The islands are nice. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Three of them, very nice.
Very cool.
Am I
Mallorca.
clear, by the way?
Sorry?
Am I clear?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah, you're good. You ready to go?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. Um, it's fun too because I don't think I've actually done an interview with anyone who was in Ibiza at the moment. So Ibiza is a new location for me.
Great.
It's great.
I'll just give you a tour.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Um, and by the way, thanks for coming off the beach to do this
No problem. Came from the pool actually, but
in the pool. Okay, fair enough. Interesting. So do me a favor. I actually want to start with a compare and contrast, if you will.
Mhm.
Compare and contrast jewelry for the person and jewelry for the home.
For me, I think it's a I approach, so I come from a background in architecture. So normally you would think that I would approach things from a macro level and then move in, because architecture would be better planned if you did that. But I've always looked at things from the detail working out, which is, I think, maybe one of the reasons why I migrated to jewelry, because I'm kind of fascinated by the way a technical or sort of fashion detail or a hardware detail can influence the whole. So I would say that jewelry and what I do in lighting are similar in the way that I approach them through the detail and then expand on it. But jewelry is all just a detail, I think. So it remains a scale that is basically like it's one it's one aspect, right? Like if you would have a handbag, you'd have buckles, zippers, and all those, sort of things. Whereas jewelry, you just have the one piece. I like jewelry for that. Like,
It's interesting too because your background, architecture, jewelry, fashion, and what you do now, I think is fascinating because the for me, the combination of an architecture background with fashion and jewelry gives this additional dimension as a product developer, as a
yeah,
creative developer of product. I find that fascinating.
I think that well, architecture as a background or as an education, I think is quite fascinating in and of itself because you're exposed to all of these, history, art history, sculpture, um, and then there's the more formal training, which involves space, light, and so on. But I think that it was one of the best things I did because it opened my mind to certain things. But I do think that crossing disciplines in design is, I wouldn't say it's essential, but it certainly makes for a more kind of for example, my awareness of space exists when I make a piece for the space because of my background in architecture. But the reverse is true as well. I can inform space or I can change space with a detail. So I think it's a good dialogue.
And I'm fascinated by it too. And I want to dive a little deeper into it. But a friend of mine who's an architect, I asked him what he learned through his formal training in architecture. And he told me something interesting. He said he didn't learn how to design, he learned how to be a critical thinker. And
Hmm.
that's one of the things that I love about the work that you do at Gabriel Scott is you have a bespoke element to the product, but there's also You have, through the engineering of it, it appears that you try to uncomplicate it as much as possible, get it down to its purest form so that you can replicate it in a simpler fashion.
Hmm.
I don't
That
think
came,
that
yeah,
is that fairly concise?
yeah, yeah. It's pretty concise. I would say so.
So take me through the process of not necessarily the creation, but setting up a factory that is conducive to manufacturing. And I want to get into the product too, because I think it's beautiful, highly functional. And when it comes to lighting too, I think we're in an era now where lighting's having a renaissance insofar as, and I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday about this because I produce the programming for the West Edge Design Fair in Santa
Hmm.
Monica every year. And a friend of mine, Kim Gordon of Kim Gordon Design, is designing the stage. And we were talking about lighting the stage. And it's interesting because many shows in the past, it's like, you know what, let's just flood it. Let's just make sure that everyone is
Mm.
just super hot and well lit and go from there. And we were talking about it in the sense of how can we use the lighting to increase the experience? How can we make an experiential activity, not necessarily from the furniture or the furnishings, but through the lighting themselves? And we got into this whole conversation about the transition between incandescent to CFL to LED to what LED is now. The technology has come so far just in the last 15 or 20 years.
Hmm.
How has that changed what you do and how you approach it?
Well, I guess there's a difference. So just to comment on that, I think the way that lighting has changed, maybe thanks to some of the options we have, but people have stopped, flooding with light, and now lighting becomes a little bit more. I wouldn't say it's theatrical, but it's a little bit more narrative. So you want to light something, and you can. So you could backlight something with a very thin strip light or something like that these days. So you could do a lot more with light. And when we work in hospitality projects, sometimes we'll make a fixture that's meant to be decorative, but we have to also be aware that they want to focus on certain elements in the room. So if the fixture itself is taking up a lot of visual space, we actually sometimes will work in point lights in like that are hidden around the fixture that you wouldn't normally see or we wouldn't do in another setting, but they will accent parts of the restaurant or whatever. So it's like mixing, you know, the design of a decorative light or one that's has a it's functional but doesn't have the same function, and then mixing in the more technical elements. As far as the evolution of technology is concerned, we have for many years made our own LEDs. So I think what it does for us is it gives us the freedom to control color rendering and everything else from the spectrum and so on, but also how we can fit light where we need to fit it. So basically, we make most of our LEDs are chip on board, so we're not restricted by a sort of like retrofit bulb that will then dictate the size of the object you're trying to put the light into. I think that's where it has the most influence.
And how did that change the fact that you can now get away from a standard bulb or even with all of the different options because you can do that yourself as a designer? How did that change the way you approach? What did that do for you emotionally, artistically, creatively?
Well, I think it gives you one of those things that you can get away from. So, as a designer, architect, interior designer, whatever, you're often bound by things or rules. For example, like fire codes, or it could be or actually ergonomics. You make a chair, you're stuck with the fact that people have to sit in it. So, in my case, I'm lucky. Well, with lighting, that I have the freedom to do sculptural expression without considering whether or not how do you explain that? It doesn't have to fit. You know what I mean? So with the light having that type of the freedom that we get from that type of light or that type of bulb, uh, again, it's sculptural freedom. You have the same result. You can make something like when we did the myriad. Those are like, those faceted pieces of glass that are quite thick. We design the light that goes in there. It's, it's flat, it's chip on board, but we can just decide how it's going to reflect with that very thin wafer. It's not, so I think it gives us that same freedom that I appreciate for not making chairs only. It gives us that freedom more as a sculptural exercise.
How do you think about the design in relation to architects and designers who might specify the product? And what I mean is it's hard nowadays because design and architecture has gotten very specific. The vernacular has gotten very specific. We like traditional. We like transitional. We like modern. There's a label for everything. Um, how does the labeling affect? Because a lot of your work kind of there's a lot of
Yeah, I don't do that. I don't look at that. First of all, I don't. So when I was in fashion, I think that there's the best design is design that borrows from the past because people are not comfortable with things they're not familiar with. So you have to start with something that looks familiar, and then you bring it forward. But even more than that, I never consider that. Like for example, right now, I'm thinking of a fixture that's sort of like a follow up to the wells. And I think of it more in the way that, like, how amazing it's going to be because of X, Y, and Z. I don't really care about the trend or, how to explain that, or specific to whether it's transitional or modern. For example, we do lights that land up in some of those houses you see in East Hampton, which are super modern, like barn, they're in there, but they're also in the houses in Southampton that are like the sort of like more, mansion style homes. So it's very interesting. They land up in both of those environments. And I think it's because I don't even look at that. Like it's just, it's nice in both. It should be.
it should be, and it's funny too because Scott, I rail on this endlessly. Endlessly, I rail on the trends because, and I was talking about it. It's funny because for those who are listening to this show, um, I find that most people are regular listeners to the show, and I will get comments quite often like, "You're on a tangent. Why are you on this tangent?" I'm on a tangent now because we're about to enter the silly season, as I call it, and that means all of the magazines and all of the websites and all of this all the social media. You're about to see all of the lists, listicles, all of the top 5 things that you're not going to see in 2026 in design. All the top 10 things you're going to see everywhere in design in 2026. And it's silly to me because in fashion, you have seasons. Totally get it. In design, if you're a designer who's designing a space, you're designing that space for 15, 20,
For
25 years
years.
before
Yeah.
you get a refresh. If you're an architect, you're designing something for 75 or 100 years, if not
Yeah.
longer, right? But there seems to be this overwhelming desire to put a label on something, to classify something. And so when designers are talking to their clients and it comes down to specification, right? And they say, well, we're going with a traditional style
Look. Yeah.
or a modern style. Sometimes it will limit certain products that can be
Yeah.
specified.
Or decisions. Yeah.
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 How do you how do you change the narrative as a creative? Or how do you establish the narrative with those who are potentially specifying that this is bespoke and it is cross platform, cross style?
Um, hmm. I mean, I don't think it's intentional. It was back when in fashion, like you say, there's seasons, and they're also informed by the materials that the big mills are making, whereas we don't have that. So and it should, and you shouldn't, and like our fixture should be just as nice, like you said, in 10 years, or just as suitable or appropriate. um I'm not sure how I address that. I mean, I certainly don't intentionally try to inform people in that way, but I think that if I was an architect, I would also use language from different styles if I was to make an interior. I certainly wouldn't restrict myself because it comes from this style. So it would be one of those, I don't even know what you call that.
What is the creative process for you? It's funny, you talked about what's next, I think after or what's the follow-up to Wells. And
Well,
I'm
Wells
look
is old, but there were other things. It's just that I have this other idea in my head that I'm kind of obsessing about now. So yeah.
so take me through the creative process from ideation, from the spark to ideation to production.
Well, one of the things that you have to understand that we try to do. So in my life, I have passed through the education architecture, then jewelry and fashion, and then I was doing for a while large bespoke pieces of furniture, like between 2005 and 10, sculptures, architectural elements like staircases and so on. So like very big, um, not repeated pieces. Um, and then when I stopped to create Gabriel Scott, I wanted to make something that had the same value or bespoke nature, um, but was repeatable. So I had to find a way. It becomes like a rule of design for me, which is the pieces have to be um, they have to be mutable in a way. Like they can't just be one sort of sculptural piece and that's it. It has to have some form of mutation to it that's available to the designer and the architect in order for them to use it in different spaces. So that becomes one fundamental and foundational rule. And then from that, there's a language that gets developed of parts. And some of them are inspired by just a concept. Like um, certainly the Wells was developed by that very thing, creating a chandelier that can grow both horizontally and vertically, and also horizontal chandeliers were not a thing. So the basis of that was finding a geometry that could do that. So that delves into the architecture bit, and then blowing it in glass is the jewelry bit, and then all the details. So it usually is born with me from a detail, like, oh, that's interesting as a detail, and then how can I turn that into something? Um, how can I turn that into a light or a series or a language?
And then the production of it. Tell me about the, I don't want to call it a factory, because, but that's in essence what it is, the manufacturing
Yeah.
of it. In looking at some of the video that you have of, and for those who want to see it, go to the show notes and gabriel-scott.com, and you can look at some of the videos that are up there about the studio and how the work is produced. It's really interesting to me because I feel like the way when someone presents their shop, their studio in a certain way, you get a very distinct, you get a good feel for who they are as a creative and how they approach the work. Your studio, your shop looks spotless. It looks very well organized. It looks highly detailed, not overly complicated, just very well structured and organized. And that sort of speaks to how the product is made and what you wind up with at the other end. And that seemed
Hmm.
very purposeful.
Uh, yeah. I mean, so it's not a factory per se, because the way one of the concepts, like the foundational sort of principles, was that the light has to be able to be assembled by quote unquote normal people. So we produce very complex parts to the light. So beautiful, double blown glass, hard to blow glass, mold blown glass, so on. And then some of the machining processes and so on in and of themselves have a certain complexity. But the idea is that these pieces can then move on to people that can participate in their assembly. And the final product is quite spectacular. So basically, I did that to avoid, because I when I used to manufacture larger pieces of furniture, we used to have to hire welders. We used to also have to bring welders in from France because we couldn't find welders who would make a satisfactory joint in bronze or whatever. So I wanted to also stay away from that process, which is kind of like only very skilled laborers can do this. So it's basically the skills in the design. The skill is in the architecture plan of the piece, and then the execution of it, yes, has to go to very skilled people. But coming back to the studio, it's an assembly process of parts that are made by, sometimes they're architecture graduates or, those sort of people. So that's sort of how the studio was built around that.
And look, two examples of this, and I'm looking at them now, and I want to. It's fun for me to kind of, and I think people who listen enjoy this too. This sort of journey through the process of exploration into creativity, which emanates and ends with a finished product that one can look at and really respect and enjoy what went into it. Two very simple products. And by the way, simple does not mean easy, but two
Yeah.
very simple products. You look at the Luna, two desk lamps, right? Looking at Luna and the Wells double blown glass desk lamp.
Mm-hmm.
Simplicity in ingredients. It's stone and glass. It's metal and glass. It it's all of the heart and hand, all of the effort that goes into the creation of it. And I don't want to dwell on it too much, but I think that that's something that has been missing in a lot of design over the last probably decade, because there's been this push to get especially through the pandemic, right? Where we just nothing's working. We don't like the way our homes look or feel. We just want it fast. This is not fast, but this was well thought out. And I guess the question is, how do you view simplicity in design? And again, to your main goal, that anyone can put it together, but it's a combination of very detailed parts.
Yeah. Well, I have a straightforward answer to that. I think um, when I like, how can I give you an example of this? For example, a stitch in you can challenge a pattern maker, or go to fashion and you look at like Yohji Yamamoto or something like this, where you have that's extremely simple. It's one fabric and some thread. It's just that you sort of challenge the pattern maker or the maker to do something spectacular, if you will, with it. So you can do the same with glass, right? You can look at the technique of blowing glass, and then you could challenge the glass blowing artisan in a way that creates a product that is both striking and sort of like has a value inherent in it because of the challenge to make it. So and remain simple. So you can have a very simple piece, but the detail and the technique and whatever investment there was from the artisan is actually quite complex.
And when it comes to something like the Wells double blown glass desk lamp, right? Or any of the Wells, for example, with the glass, with the shape, with the geometry of it. And because it is bespoke, and because this is all handmade, is the goal, this may sound like a silly question, but I'm curious, is the goal to replicate exactly, or will every product have differences?
Oh, they're all slightly different, of course, because they're all made by hand. I mean, every piece of glass is blown by mouth. So yeah, I mean, they're all going to have the goal is to have a repeatable process. You have to make a mold for that if you want to repeat it. But no, they're all slightly, they're all, there's slight variations, obviously.
And I ask that because we're we're coming across this on a regular basis now, and it's really a challenge, this idea of dupes and boot product. The moment a creative creates something, someone is working on ways to copy it and sell it cheaper. That
Yeah,
just seems to be an accepted part of it's a global acceptance of fashion,
yeah.
design, furnishings, jewelry. It just seems acceptable for some reason to do this. As a creative, how do you think about that, or do you think about that?
Not anymore. There's so many. It's impossible to control. It it's a compliment in a way, but you're not going to stop it. So there's nothing to really do. I can't really comment. It's happened, in fashion. It happens in design now, and there's really nothing you can do. So we just move on. Keep going. I can't say anything more.
Yeah, I guess that's true. What's the message that you would have to specifiers on behalf of their clients when it comes to buying
Mm.
and specifying original versus finding a boot piece cheaper?
Well, that's annoying. Um, so obviously, there's different types. The truth is, it's down not to the specifier, but to ownership, or the design. Depends on the contracts, but ownership. So there's a certain responsibility there, but sometimes people are just trying to meet budget. Like we've bid on hospitality projects in various parts of the world, lost the bid, but the ownership has still bought copies of our fixtures. So that's a decision that falls, I think, somewhere in how these contracts are actually built. Because if the owner decides to do that and the contractor or designer has no say, then it's going to go through. So I think if you want to stop this practice or inform people that they can't do that, you'd have to change the sort of the nature of the contracts, where there are architects and designers who will write Gabriel Scott, no substitution or whatever, and you build that into the design and procurement process at that stage. But some people don't care. It's really hard. That's a hard question.
It is a hard question, and it's one that, as of yet, has not proved out a viable solution. And look, it's interesting because the speed at which something can be duped,
Yeah, of
especially from China,
course.
they seem to be the primary ones who do this. And I think,
Perpetrators. Yeah.
and I think because manufacturing and factories are so prevalent there, and it's just sort of it's part of the culture, that manufacturing is part of that culture, that it's so
Yeah, and they're
easy
very
to
good
do.
at it, to be honest. So, sometimes they can't do certain elements of it because you can't blow glass in a way that they blow it in Moreno or blow it in Czech. But yeah, they're quite good. So,
How do you or do you uh, endeavor to protect your IP?
in that larger um, picture, you can't. We have pursued more local distributors. Someone who's showing our product in the same town we sell it at a dealership or something like that. Like this has happened before in Los Angeles, happened in New York, it's happened in different cities across the US, where we come across somebody who's selling our product and it's a knockoff. Sometimes they know, sometimes they don't know. We have pursued those people, but if you walk into a hotel in South Korea and see it's full of your fixtures and you didn't supply it, there's nothing you can do.
It also comes down to local representation. So you have a showroom in London. Is the New York showroom open yet?
No, not yet. It got sort of yeah, a bit of a delay in that. It was a priority, it became secondary. So we're looking to do it in the next, I would say not by the spring, but by the summer.
2026.
Yeah.
So that being said, and looking at a market like the US, how do you show? Where do people find you? Where's the discovery aside from online and word of mouth? How can people find, touch, feel, see?
Well, well, for one, we have a bit of a reputation. So as a result, people or designers, architects know what to expect. Those that don't, we do have dealers across the US or showrooms that represent us. And then we show in Milan. And then after that, it would be really through our dealers. So there's dealers all over in Europe and in the US as well. So you can see it in those. And it wasn't, only in New York anyways. So I think it would be through that mechanism.
I want to explore the relationship you have with not necessarily architects, but with designers. Um, do you have partnerships with designers on style, or do all of the collections come emanate internally?
Well, they all emanated internally until we did the Wells Reimagined, which was a celebration of that fixture in its, I don't remember which anniversary it was, but several years into the fixture. It was the 10th anniversary of the brand. So we invited several designers to reinterpret the Wells in their own version with some restrictions and some rules applied to the game. And so when you have David Rockwell, Sybil de Margerie, Michel Gerson, Alessandro Munch, and then what else we have? Something's stopping me from the fifth one. But anyways, so we had several reinterpretations of that fixture, but otherwise all of the designs that we produce and they're all internally designed.
And what is the process for like what's coming next? Do you have a new collection planned? Are you working on things
Mm-hmm.
uh, that are going to be coming out in the near future?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. So we're working on another series. This one is actually with another designer. So there's one there. We're working actually two. There's another firm that we're working with to bring out a very small collection of bronze pieces. And then the third one is we're working for another, um, if you will, design house to for them to bring out product by us. So there's three different developments ongoing.
For you, what inspires you? Where does the inspiration come from?
I don't know. I wish I was more inspired. It comes actually, it comes from random things. It comes from other types of design, could be in jewelry, fashion, whatever, could be art. But actually, sometimes, like I said, because I design by detail, one of the collections we're bringing out, very interestingly, was inspired by something I saw last summer here on Ibiza. And it was just a detail of something that I saw, brought this to the attention of someone else that does a lot of hospitality work and said, "What do you think of this?" And we're working on that product now. So it could be a very random thing that inspires me. So I look at a lot of things. I look at a lot of details like we all do. And then I try to take away what interests me.
And what would you say, talking legacy? What is the goal for the brand? How do you explore potential brand extensions? And I ask specifically because going from furniture, and I think you still produce furniture, correct?
Yeah.
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 Is it fair to say that lighting is the primary?
Yeah, by far, yes.
At some point, there was a switch flipped somewhere somehow that said, furnishings is great, lighting is really where we want to be. What does the legacy look like? What would you like to see the brand become?
Um, it's a tough question because um, Like when I look at things, if I was to expand into other areas, I come from a smaller thing like jewelry. I don't like I would see it becoming more of a full offering, incorporating more furniture into it, but furniture that responds more to what I think. Look, I don't want to say furniture is boring, but it's boring. Like you know, you could find if I say I make a nice stone side table, so does every Italian brand, and then some. So if there's a way to manipulate that manipulate furniture the way you could lighting, which I think there is, I think I would expand the offering. And then of course, like more sculptural accessories would be nice as well. Problem with those is just the marketability of them, because as the world is full of Zara Home and all that, it's quite hard to enter that market.
And it's interesting to me. And for comparison, I look to the automotive industry, right? And I was watching CNBC a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I was listening to the CEO of Rolls-Royce talk about their product and legacy and moving forward as they were introducing an EV, which is unheard of that, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Rolls-Royce are going to come out with an EV. It's just,
Hmm.
it doesn't, it almost breaks you because it doesn't make sense
Yeah.
because of what they are. And the way he described it was he said, we strive to be the purveyors of silent propulsion. I'd never heard an auto manufacturer, I never heard a car maker, even Rolls-Royce, at the end of the day, they're car makers, right? Enzo Ferrari, an artisan, absolutely. Ferrari is an artisan piece, but it's still a
Hmm.
car.
Hmm.
And to hear him say that and to kind of understand that they view what they do beyond the sole purpose of transportation, which is what a vehicle is at the end of the day. It's more about the experience. It's more about moving forward into the future smartly and creatively. It got me thinking about what we do in design and architecture, as in how to move forward smartly and creatively. And I'm just curious if when you think about the brand,
Hmm.
Gabriel Scott, how you think about that, and is it to create the best product you can now, or do you also keep one eye sort of on the future and think about what it might look like next?
I'm too. I think my approach is more um, touchy feely. So like I'm one of those people who I'm the technology that is out there could be incorporated, but for me, it's really about the form. I almost think sometimes that you can reverse that and go back to more earthy forms or earth materials, and it'd be more interesting than some of the stuff that we make out of carbon fiber or stuff for the future. So I think it's I wouldn't say that I think of it that way. I would rather have you know a material experience out of the product.
Yeah. And what got me thinking about this in advance of our conversation, and forgive me because I don't remember all of the details clearly. Uh, I did this conversation, this interview years ago in LA, downtown LA. Most people have absolutely no idea that it's there. Is what's called the Triforium. Have you ever heard of this?
Hmm. No.
Okay. So the Triforium project, I want to say it was the 60s or the 70s. It still exists. They were trying to recreate it. It's basically a gigantic tripod. It's an art installation, gigantic tripod that has somewhere in the area of 16,000 or so hand blown Murano glass bulbs,
Mm.
and the lights are connected to a computer that is down below it.
Oh, yeah,
We're talking 70s, right? So
yeah.
it runs on a tape. It's almost like a player piano, And the bulbs would synchronize with the music that was playing to present an experience in light and sound. And I just thought, when I remember being down there and seeing it, and they were repairing it at the time, right? I want to say this is maybe 2015, 2016 at the time. And I just thought it was fascinating. And it reminded me of our conversation because your work kind of reminds me of what I saw there. And this whole idea of the experience where the glass and the beauty of the hand blown nature, you can see the texture through the lighting, but it creates the experience. Cut to where we are now, technologically speaking, where AI makes it possible to to enhance and further predict human behaviors based on past behaviors, and how this idea of somebody approaching a space, time of day of the week, hour of the day, month, year, their age, who's in the house can affect how lighting is presented.
Interpreted or present? Yeah,
Uh, Presented and interpreted through their experience of a
of
space.
course. Yeah,
I just think it's fascinating.
I think so too. I think there's a lot of information there. Yeah, because there's a lot. Yeah, it depends. Time of day, mood, all of those things are influenced. You simply if you're sick or well, also,
Yeah.
like just your state. I
Yeah,
agree.
or time of year. You know, if you
Yeah,
live in a city like Seattle, which is traditionally cloudy and rainy, your lighting can affect your mood. It can affect
of
the way that,
course. Yes.
and what's interesting too is having more and more conversations with designers who are paying more attention to lighting plans.
Yes.
The lighting is
There,
more important now than I think it ever has been before.
yeah, because it affects mood. There's also a lot of this research being done into like cancer centers, those sort of places where people are stuck inside, and the the light becomes the most important element in those spaces almost because they're really dealing with moods and you know it's health and wellness and all those things, and that's informed by light.
Yeah, and it's interesting too when talking to designers, and nowadays, most designers that I speak to shoot every project, every install. They shoot it now because I think they realize with the
Yeah.
with the way that the magazines and the trade publications are, they don't get as much coverage as they might have in the past. And so it's up to them to present their own work. And I think that there's a greater level of importance that designers put on photography. But it's interesting too, because with that, the interpretation of the photography of their projects, many now simply Photoshop out switches, outlets, canned lighting, recessed lighting, and other parts of that. Nobody's photoshopping out your product.
Mm, mm, no, that's fine. No. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, of course, because the narrative I think is also problematic. If you want my opinion, there should be texture. Like, I pretend like this is a perfect wall. It's not. I don't mean to like disparage anyone who's doing that in their work, but you you don't represent life by removing, what I mean, the elements of life. So I understand the wall remove switches, fine, okay. But you know what I mean? Like, we're manipulating things to the extent that they're not truthful representations anymore, but they're also not interesting. Like, it's more
Yeah.
interesting, to confront something that's imperfect or something that's made, as opposed to cheated.
So we lost Scott Richler, and I'm going to pivot now. I'm not sure if I'm going to get him back, This would be an interesting way to end a podcast episode. But uh, he is in Ibiza, and that's kind of cool. And I don't know what his internet's like. He may be on his cell phone. Can you tell that I'm stalling to see if I get him back? You know what I may do? I may, if I don't get him back in the next minute or two, instead of just ending it cold here, what I may do is re-air the segment that we recorded from the Triforium project because I thought that was really cool and definitely correlated. So I think we'll do that. Yeah, I think we'll do that. So there you go. At the highest level of design, the absolute best specifying designers, architects, landscape designers are all highly focused on the technology and performance of products and materials today. You have to, because the products you specify for your projects have to perform and they have to last. That's one of the reasons why I am so proud to be working with TimberTech. Their focus on the technical renaissance of synthetic decking is literally changing the conversation about innovation and performance. It pulls focus on three priorities homeowners have and expect from the products their designers and architects specify for their luxury projects. 1. Aesthetics must match the overall design and fit visually. 2. Durability and maintenance. I've told you about my board flipping stories from my own wood decks. Clients not only want beauty, but they want ease of use, and they want it to last for decades. 3. Sustainably made. Clients are more conscious of the environment now, and they want the same of their materials. TimberTech hits each one of these elements with a product that not only meets expectations, they exceed them. TimberTech makes a synthetic decking that looks just like wood, color and embossed wood grain for a natural appearance. Their composite decking is technologically superior, as it has been created to last for decades, and it's manufactured with up to 85% recycled material. Their advanced PVC, vintage, and landmark collections have a Class A flame spread rating, making these products an amazing choice for wildfire-prone areas, which unfortunately continues to grow on the risk map. Check the show notes for more information about this and to find the nearest showroom or lumberyard where you can find TimberTech, or you can check them out directly, timbertech.com. I am absolutely thrilled to welcome a new sponsor to the program. First of all, because I love new sponsors to the program, but also because this one is something that each and every one of you has been looking for. Loam AI is a company that has its roots in technology and engineering with a passion for high-quality content development. Listen, designers, architects, landscape architects, shelter industry brands, you know that time is the one thing we can't create, right? So how would you like the power of AI in content development programming that allows you to design instead of editing videos, scripting, and writing your content for social media? Loam AI was created by a team of engineers with a passion for creative content development. This is text to video, so you describe it and Loam AI creates it. It's really amazing. You're going to have to check this out. And they make it simple to change content sizes for different social media outlets. How tired are you of trying to resize the content that you create, or send it out to a freelancer and keep getting the recharges because it has to be put in different sizes? It's a pain, and Loam AI fixes that. It's easy to use, has US-based support if you need it. Let me rephrase. The support is here in the United States if you need it. Stunning images, realistic voices, built-in captions, and it's simple to use. Sign up and try it for free without a credit card at loam-ai.com. I'll say that again. LOME-AI.com. Simple, inexpensive, text to video, harnessing the power of AI to grow your firm. beautifully. And this is where I lost the connection with Scott. As I said, he was in Ibiza and the Wi-Fi dropped. So I thought it would be fun to conclude this conversation with a brief chat with the founders of the Triforium project. Yacht, the experimental pop and the experimental pop group, artists, creatives, basically, okay, let me back up a second. Yacht, young Americans challenging high technology. That's the band. Love these guys. So they're LA-based band Yacht. Basically built a reputation on pushing the boundaries of music, technology, and performance art. Founded by Jonah Bechtold and later joined by Claire Evans, Yacht blends electronic pop, punk, energy, and conceptual art into a body of work that often doubles as cultural critique. So it was only suitable because this project that you're about to hear about, one of the most intriguing was their involvement with the Triforium project. It's a massive 1970s public art installation in downtown Los Angeles. And if you're listening to this, even if you live in LA, even if you live in downtown LA, you've probably never seen it, even though it's huge. Originally envisioned as a polyphenoptic, say that 10 times fast, a polyphenoptic sculpture. The Triforium contains 1,494 glass prisms designed to light up in sync with computer-generated music. Despite its futuristic ambitions, technical limitations of the era basically kept the piece from reaching its full potential, and it was largely dismissed as a failed experiment in civic art. But it's interesting because it was installed in the 1970s, and it's still there, even though it doesn't work. Enter Yacht. Alongside a group of artists and technologists, the band helped spearhead efforts to restore and reinterpret the Triforium for a new generation. They worked on updating its outdated systems with modern technology, enabling the sculpture to finally achieve its original goal of synchronizing light, sound in real time. But you know what? Let's be honest. The money dries up fast, and as of this date, I'm going to have to check. Next time I go to LA, I'm going to go downtown and see if it's even still there. Anyway, I wanted you to hear about it because I thought it was an interesting conversation.
Convo by Design. I'm Josh Cooperman with the... You know, it's funny. I'm looking for. Hold on. I'm looking for a way to define you guys, and I have.
It's called the Triforium Project.
You're not the founders of the Triforium Project. You're the saviors of the Triforium Project.
We're the founders.
We're the founders of the Triforium Project, which is the group that is.
See, look, and you're used to talking into a.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Well, I didn't. I thought. Yeah, I didn't realize we were on.
Can we work it out on the fly?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
We are the founders of the Triforium Project.
We are the Triforium Project.
I love that. So
there's another.
Yeah, there's a fourth. There's a fourth.
This is Claire.
Hi.
That's
Tom Carroll.
I'm Jonah Bechtold.
okay. So, born and raised in Los Angeles, never knew what the Triforium was until 2 weeks ago. Then I heard about this thing, and we are covering the Los Angeles LA Design Festival, and this is part of the programming that's going on. You guys, so I want to know how you found out about the Triforium, how you became interested in it after you found out about it, and then the process of bringing it back, because it is, you know what, this is one of those things. It's an LA landmark that nobody knew was here.
Yeah, there's a lot of those in this town.
Yeah.
Things that you drive by 1,000 times and you never register that they exist, let alone might be interesting. Tom turned us on to the Triforium first. You want to start off?
Sure. So back in the year 2014, I made a short documentary about the Triforium. I found out about it probably back in 2005, art class that I was taking at a local college, Occidental College. We took a field trip down here, and I ended up doing an art project based around it, and so it always kind of stayed with me. And so by the jump forward 10 years later, making these short little documentaries about Los Angeles, I'm like, well, I got to do one about the Triforium. Like, it's such a weird thing, and it's sad, and it's falling apart. And then that's actually how we met, because you guys watched that, and then you reached out.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Fun fact, Claire and I went to college together, but she doesn't remember meeting me.
We were in the same year.
She was 2 years older than me.
Yeah, I mean, we lived in Silver Lake and would take Temple down to go to Little Tokyo all the time. Hundreds of times we've driven by this and just never seen it until we saw his documentary. And then we saw it, Claire and I are huge fans of underdogs. Any kind of thing, in specifically Los Angeles, that isn't getting its fair shake, we try to pump up, we try to champion. So that's how the project really started.
It started real ragtag. We were trying to do we were going to bring speakers here and just have people perform, and then it just kind of kept growing from there. I mean, this is 2.5 years now.
This is for its 40th birthday.
Yeah, but this is before his 40th, though.
Basically, we took an interest in it, and we realized that nobody else had any more authority, other than the city, of course, to care about it. We thought maybe if we took an interest, we would find the proper authorities to sort of link up with. But then it kind of turned out that it was really just us that cared about it. There wasn't a huge Triforium following. The daughters of the artist have...
Totally true.
Well, people are interested in it, but there wasn't anybody that was willing to take charge. Don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, people had tried to take charge back in 2006. Councilwoman Jan Perry put $6,000 into the Triforium, working with a local artist named Catherine Brem, and they replaced all the incandescent bulbs and kind of cleaned it up. But it's incandescent bulbs, so fast forward 10 years, most of them have burned out at this point. I mean, it's a pariah. It went $700,000 over budget when it was built in 1975. No one wanted to touch it. Some people wanted to blow it up. Yeah, it's just sad. It's sad.
Okay, wait. No, so let's back up a second.
Okay.
Explain to me what the Triforium is.
Well, the major thing that people don't know about the Triforium is that it's a musical instrument. It looks like a static sculpture, which of course it is up here, but when it was originally designed, every single one of those glass cubes contains a light bulb. Every single one of those light bulbs is networked to a musical instrument and a computer system directly underneath us in the Triforium control room, which in 1975 was played like an organ by the Triforium, instrument sort of control guy and organist. And it would actually, the amplitude of the music would react with the lights, causing a dancing of lights and music in synchrony. The artist called it a polyphenoptic musical instrument.
It wasn't just amplitude, too. It was also frequency. So there was a little bit of 1970s wacko color theory involved. So an A sharp relates to a red prism, etc.
But yeah.
We should credit the artist. It was built by the artist Joseph Young.
Yes, Joseph Young. It was his brainchild. And Joseph Young was an artist who worked a lot doing public artwork. He was primarily a mosaic artist, and he's done a number of mosaic pieces all around the city.
You can almost see one. It's on the side of the county building, a few blocks up.
And there was one in the LAPD headquarters. He made the Holocaust Memorial over by the Grove, a number of major public art projects in Los Angeles, but he had never done anything like this. And when he got the commission to do it, it was a huge undertaking.
If I asked you guys to back away for just a second and try to put yourself back in 1975, knowing what downtown LA is now, what do you think the vision was then?
We know what the vision was.
For this whole area, what was it?
Well, okay, so 1975, white flight is at its height. No one is staying in downtown after dark. So Robert Stockwell, the architect of the LA Mall, I believe, sought out Joseph Young and approached him and said, can we make something that will attract people after dark? Obviously, this is a light sculpture looking most vibrant when the sun goes down. So inherently, it'll pull people in after dark, after work, and then people hopefully will go downstairs and frequent the restaurants that are there. This was the idea. Now, in actuality, that didn't happen. On top of the fact that they were running it during lunch, and that's a federal courthouse. Judges got angry with the bells. They're like, turn out the damn bells. I lost my train of thought. Jonna.
Yeah, it was kind of an annoying sound at first. There was a single sharp sound of a glass bell carillon, which was custom built by Gerhard Finkenbeiner of the Finkenbeiner Corporation, inventor of the glass harmonica. I don't know what that is. I don't know what a glass harmonica is. Anyway, yeah. So a lot of this is all custom technology, because computers, you couldn't really buy an off-the-shelf computer to do anything like this. So there are 2 refrigerator-sized computers in the control room. Are there 4? Well, whatever. Again, great story. No, but
the vision was to bring people downtown.
Off the rails.
Sorry. The vision, we've been cleaning the control room all morning. The vision was to bring people downtown after dark, to get pedestrians interfacing with this whole LA Mall Plaza complex, which was a restaurant and shopping complex that was architected by the city.
Interesting too, because when I look at this thing, 3 years ago, generator the cylinders down in Pershing Square. They finally brought that back with the
the things Next to Pershing Square, the
Yes.
mirror circle
the
neon things.
the neon lights.
Yeah,
Yeah, those are cool.
So there's a vibe.
Yeah.
There was a vibe going on downtown.
Something in the water.
Right? So once you bring this back, well, let me back up. What is the plan to bring this? They laugh. What is the plan to bring this back?
Well, we won a grant at the end of last year from LA 2050. We won a $100,000 grant, which
Congratulations.
is a sizable grant, but it is not everything that we will need to restore this artwork. But it is enough to open doors with the city to begin real conversations about what that would entail. So we've been working with the Department of Cultural Affairs, the DCA, on, first of all, getting a sense of where we're at with the sculpture, because it hasn't really been like accurately surveyed, taken care of, monitored, maintained since 2009-ish. So we don't really know the structural integrity. We don't know, 2006. We don't know like if the computer system is at all functional, if the wiring is safe. So we're in the fundraising and getting sort of structural reports phase. After that, if we get the all clear from the city, our plan is to replace all those incandescent bulbs, obviously with LEDs, so that they won't burn out every 10 years. And
so that they're visible during the daytime, too, which will be great.
Yeah, because obviously, if these lights are on during the day, we wouldn't even see them. To update the computer system so that it actually can run sequences without, having to interface with a 45-year-old computer system with paper tape programs, but actually something that we could just control through a networked, sort of off-the-shelf, super simple system. And then clean up the control room, kind of turn it into a museum, make sure that this plaza is clean and landscaped, make sure that the programs that we create for the light and the music can be interactive and engaging for the larger public. We have plans, dreams of creating an interactive iPhone app or smartphone app so that people can create their own compositions. Because the idea is that this thing is an instrument and it's sort of played by the people. That was kind of like the central dream, was that people could interact with this thing and make music and light in the center of Los Angeles.
And also, one of the things that the artist had talked about was having it be responsive to footfall in the plaza. So having some sort of system that will interpret the movement of the plaza itself. These aren't new ideas. These are all things the artist wanted originally, but it's 1975. You've already gone $700,000 over budget. You got to work with what you have.
And with the resurgence of downtown LA, then you have to start thinking about what is the plan for the space itself. This is still not a heavily trafficked area.
Yeah, that's the X factor we're dealing with, because they're trying to knock this LA mall down by 2025.
Yeah.
So we're running laterally right now.
So are we rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic here? Is that what we're doing?
No, I mean there are much larger forces at play, of which the Triforium project does not have control, which is the fact that this entire part of Civic Center is going to be reimagined and redone very soon.
And we should say it's federally protected. I mean, it's a piece of public art. They can't just knock it down with a crane. There's federal laws protecting this work.
Okay, so that was my next question. So it is protected federally?
Yes.
For now?
Yeah.
Unless Donald Trump gets rid of it, gets rid of public protection for artwork, which I guess could be possible.
I knew we were going to go in that direction.
You say that, it doesn't sound that unlikely.
It doesn't sound unlikely.
But at the same time, so you look at this space, when you see this, and the vision is to not just bring it back, but make it better, do you have an idea what you see the space being as well?
I think there's too much brain power. We're trying.
Is that out of your?
We're just trying to fix it.
I'm an idealist, so yes, I see tens of thousands of people gathering in the square.
Thank you. See, I'm trying to make this sexy. He's like, I'm just trying to fix it.
And right now, the artist's daughters have been kind enough to lend us boxes and boxes of archival material. So we have a bunch of photographs from when it was at its peak. And there were tons of concerts here, all different kinds of performances, dance performances, music performances. Stevie Wonder blew out the speakers. On those speakers right there. The Ramones played on the corner over here. Yeah, there's all kinds of crazy musical and art history right here. And yeah, there's this one picture that's stuck in my mind throughout this whole project. It's a bird's eye view, maybe shot actually from City Hall, from up there, of thousands of people gathered in the square at the foot of the Triforium for a Triforium concert. And that's what I want to get back to.
So when you say that they played here, like be it the Ramones or Stevie Wonder, was the Triforium in sync to what they were playing, or was it?
Supposedly, yeah. The reason that the speakers blew out with Stevie Wonder is apparently this is all Is it notated anywhere?
There's
There's
an internal memo.
Okay, there's an internal memo.
Blew out the tweeters.
So they had Stevie Wonder insisted that his sound man controlled the sound system. So he plugged it in and I think just maxed it out, which was awesome. Because like a sound guy here is probably going to make it sound a little too quiet. So Stevie Wonder's like, nope, let's make this big and booming. Blew out the speakers, yeah. But what was your question?
I don't remember, but that's great.
Yeah, the Ramones didn't actually play at the Triforium. They played at the Triforium stage at a downtown festival, which was just on the corner over here, like in the street.
Oh, okay, in the street behind it. All right.
Yeah.
John Cage had a birthday party here once.
His 80th birthday.
Celebrated here at the Triforium. There's a number of things like that we can look to as sort of models for what we can do with interaction with the Triforium.
So when did the Triforium go dark?
We're not entirely sure. There's a couple of different sort of documents from throughout the history. We know that by 2006 it was basically dark because that's when they did the restoration and replaced all the bulbs, but it's been off for as long as I've lived in Los Angeles.
It was on. So when I made my short documentary back in 2014, 2013, I don't remember. The lights were still on from 5 to 7 during the winter months. They would turn the lights on from 6 to 8 in the winter, or in the summertime rather. They would turn the lights on. No music. Lights were just static. No, it wasn't running any sequences, so it looked especially sad because whatever sequence it was stuck on, it was only, I would say about 10% of the lights were on. It looked like, I mean, it was barely on.
Yeah, and we don't know, I mean, there was a custom instrument that was built to be played with the Triforium, that was the Triforium instrument. That was removed and auctioned off basically as scrap at some point, we think maybe in the late 80s, early 90s, and replaced with a digital bell machine, with the kind of machine that like a church would buy if they don't have a church bell steeple, like a weird sort of like sound making synthesizer. And then that was replaced with a CD player at some point. And by the time they did the restoration in 2006, the arrangement that the city councilwoman worked out with the plaza was that employees of the Sbarro's pizza kitchen downstairs would actually get the keys to the Triforium, go in the morning, hit play on the CD changer, and it would just play whatever was in the CD changer, which we happen to know includes the Legally Blonde 2 soundtrack, the Ally McBeal soundtrack, like a weird Pottery Barn like jazz CD, some Rachmaninoff, some Burt Bacharach, like a really weird combination of things.
And every day it was the same.
We honestly, it is my belief that they probably did that for 2 weeks.
No
and then
wonder
stopped
they
doing
turned
it.
this off.
Yeah, so it's been like every form of musical technology you can imagine has passed through this machine, but it's never really worked the way it was supposed to work. Yeah. Or if it did, only for a year or two at most.
It wasn't supposed to be a jukebox. It was supposed to be truly interactive, and it was supposed to be the people's instrument.
Yeah, and Joseph Young hated the fact that it became a jukebox. It enraged him to such a degree. I mean, just like frothing at the mouth rage. We know this from the archive, seeing these memos sent to the city from the artist himself.
Yeah, he wrote a lot of letters to the city, a lot of letters. He wrote press releases to every arts organization in the country saying that the city of Los Angeles had essentially, assassinated his artwork. He did like a ceremony, like the funeral for the Triforium, celebrating the death of the Triforium at some point, even like the late 70s. So he was pissed off at the way the city handled it, really almost from the very beginning.
So as you move forward, to avoid the whole return to a jukebox thing, and when you started saying an app, mm-hmm. it got me thinking, is that kind of, it's an app, but there's no priority as to who can program what, so...
We were thinking by proximity. So there'd be a queue that was sorted by proximity. So if you're close to the Triforium, your composition gets played first before someone like in Amsterdam who's sending a composition to it. And that's just one of the modes that we imagine. So we imagine like hourly blocks. So there'll be like the app thing would take precedent over anything. So if there's a large queue, that would always play. But we're artists. We've been artists for our entire lives. So we have a rich network of friends who design games and graphics and animations and music and composers and stuff. So we've started assembling a list of people who have pledged that they'll make some kind of new piece for the Triforium. Because right now, we're imagining this is a 1,500 light screen. So this can be anything. It doesn't have to be static. It doesn't have to just turn off and on. It doesn't have to play sequences. It could be a single screen. So we can design new video games for it. We can premiere new weird animations. We can display weird ambient data like traffic in LA or weather, all just through programming.
Do you see... But from a musical standpoint,
yeah.
Do you see it playing music?
Yeah.
So if you have two friends and one loves New Kids on the Block and the other loves Kenny G, but they're here, they can just stand here and play those two back and forth.
No. We imagine the app interface being more like a piano roll. So like you type out what you want to hear. It's not like sending a song to it.
Okay.
'Cause that also gets into a whole lot of like performance rights issues. But no, you're creating a new composition. So
you didn't want it to be a jukebox. You wanted it to be a musical instrument.
Yeah,
so we're creating a musical instrument.
So we're imagining 16 bars of a short melody that you can just tap out. You don't have to be a musician to use the app. It'll just be colorful squares, something really minimal and simple, and then shoot it over, and then it just plays it back for you. And then maybe before it scrolls your name, there's all kinds of ideas. It's endless.
And we want to work with musicians to create compositions uniquely for the Triforium. So beyond just the sort of user-friendly app thing, we want to actually work out sort of programmatic relationships with artists to come in and say, okay, will you make a piece for the Triforium and then premiere it on the Triforium and people can gather around and listen to this composition. That would be a light and sound composition. So the idea being that there's music and there's light and there's this thing in between, polyphenoptics, which is what Joseph Young was so obsessed with, which is a third thing. There's a third form of art, and the composition of light and music in synchrony.
So to move it forward philosophically, I guess the question is why? Is this it's a big undertaking. You're downstairs in a room filled with apparently asbestos and old computer equipment. What is the importance of public art? Where does the importance lie?
I think that we all have different sort of motivations. The thing I always come back to is this idea that somebody designed this, Joseph Young designed this, imagining the future of Los Angeles. I mean, this is a very futuristic thing. He really pushed the technology as far as it could go, and he had dreams about what downtown Los Angeles could be in the future and what art could be in the future. And unfortunately, those dreams didn't come to pass exactly as he would have liked them. This is not a highly trafficked pedestrian area. It is not known as the beacon of, he wanted it to be like our Eiffel Tower, this central sort of theme building for Los Angeles. And here we are in the future with the capacity to make those dreams come true a little bit. And I think that we have a responsibility to the past and to sort of to other artists in the past who had a vision like this to make it come true. I want to be the future that yesterday imagined. I want to be better even. I want to sort of push the technology beyond the wildest dreams of what our forebears could have done. I think that's sort of a beautiful way of engaging with the history of a city that we love.
Yeah, I just want to delight people. I want people to see this thing that they've never noticed or that they've walked by and thought was ugly. I want their impression to completely change.
It's so close to working. We spent nearly $1 million 40 years ago building this, and to not push it just a little bit further and actually get it to the point it needs to be, it seems crazy. So many people have laughed at the Triforium. They know that it's failed, that it's a failure. So how can we shift that narrative and preserve this incredibly weird, great thing that shouldn't have been built in the first place, but that was built by the city of Los Angeles?
Oh, Tom Bradley quote.
It's ours now. We have to learn to love it. That's a quote from Tom Bradley, then mayor, when this was built. So yeah. You gotta love the one. You gotta love the one you have to love the one you're with.
I've heard that before.
We are with the Triforium, and we love it because we're with it.
And yeah, downtown has changed so much. This is not a dead zone. This is kind of a weird dead zone this plaza is, but geographically we're right in the middle of all kinds of exciting stuff. Grand Park is right there, Olvera Street, Little Tokyo, Chinatown, City Hall. We're in the middle. We're on a bike lane. There's no reason why this can't be a central, active hub.
Okay, so as far as the plan goes, two questions. The first, I'll start with this one. What are you doing this weekend with the LA Design Festival? What's happening here?
Well, right now, one of our major priorities is just educating as many people as possible about what this thing is. Because if you judge it just as a static sculpture, and a certain aesthetic, weirdness about it can be off-putting. But if you understand it in the full context of what it is, what it's connected to, and how it was supposed to operate, it's a totally different understanding. So what we're doing with Design Fest is we're bringing as many people from the LA design community as possible down into the control room to show them exactly what we're dealing with here, and to help people understand this thing as both a central sort of monument to downtown Los Angeles and as an active, dynamic, designed and considered instrument and piece of art. So it's really an awareness thing as much as possible, and of course fundraising.
And it's fun.
And it's fun. I mean, for us, to seeing people's faces when we show them the computer system, it's just like a delight. I mean, we still can't believe that we get the keys to this thing. We're just 3 people who don't have any relationship to the city of LA beyond the funds that we've managed to raise and our own sort of enthusiasm. The fact that we get to go down there and mess around and vacuum cockroaches up and turn off and on the computer and try to understand how it works, I mean, that's wild. And it goes to show like what you can accomplish if you just really love something and have $100,000.
If you can pay to play, they'll let you in.
So that is the second question. $100,000, that's great. That's not going to get you
No,
where
it
you want to be.
certainly isn't.
So what do you have to do to get where you want to be, and how long do you think that's going to take you?
Well, that's the big question. I mean, we're continuing to fundraise. We're doing another fundraiser with the National Trust for Historic Places right now, which will get us another, hopefully, $20K. We're doing independent fundraising, donations on our website and events, and we're making merch, triforium.la. We're continuing our campaign. Our hope is that if we can get sort of half the way there, the city will meet us halfway and match funds, or other nonprofits, philanthropic organizations will be willing to match funds. There are a lot of other considerations at play, obviously, like there's a lot of bureaucratic things we have to go through with the city. There's lots of interlocking different city departments that are responsible for this area, as well as the larger civic center restoration. So we're trying to figure out where we fit in all of this, but we're just coming to the table with our enthusiasm and our funds and our design sensibility, and hopefully that will get us a lot of the way.
And scheduling-wise, as soon as possible. We have to spend our first grant in December of this year. So...
We got the grant 6 months ago in December 2016. It's June 2017. We have till December 2017 to spend the $100,000.
Okay, so now taking off the creative hat and putting the business hat on, $100,000.
that hat does not fit.
It does not, but it has
You're
to.
terrible at business. Yeah,
So-
go ahead.
But it has to, right?
Yeah.
So $100,000 initial grant, trying to take this little seed and make it grow. From a business standpoint, how do you approach that budget, knowing that you can't just keep it in the bank? You have to spend it on something, and I'm sure that there are some restrictions. You can't just throw a great big party, although that would be great. But how do you approach that? Is it marketing? Is it awareness? What do you do?
Well, the 3 of us are very frugal and haven't spent any of the money yet. And
We bought Windex today.
we did buy Windex today. All right, thank you. But yeah, I don't know. I think we can think about it in tiers.
And you just did your first endorsement ad.
That's
So,
true.
Good
Yeah.
job.
Hey, well, it actually wasn't Windex brand.
Thanks CVS for your off-brand, cheaper version.
Well,
of
then
Windex.
now you just did other.
Now you just
product-
did your
Yeah.
second endorsement. Look at you guys are so good at this.
Thank you. Yeah, the money's rolling in. Here it comes. What were you gonna say?
No, you were starting on a thread that I think was the correct way of answering this question, which is we're thinking about it as something that is sort of scalable. So with the money we have, with the $100,000, it won't be able to get us all the way to that magical making apps and designing a new computer interface place, but it certainly can get us to a place of replacing all the light bulbs, cleaning everything out, like dealing with some logistical concerns and calling it a phase 1 restoration. Like, we can think about this in phases. So we have enough money to do a great deal of work, and we will spend that money on those kind of brunt things, maybe rewiring, rebulbing.
Yeah, and there's the potential for in-kind donations. Philips, if you're listening, you make LED bulbs, you make LED strips, you make all kinds of different LEDs.
Yeah, come on, Phillips.
JBL, Harman, you're here in Los Angeles. Those speakers are originally JBL speakers from 1974. So there's all kinds of opportunities for brands to get in and to donate their services and products to make this thing sing again.
We think this thing can be as big as it wants to be. Worst case scenario, we're able to give that $100,000 to the city, and they can earmark it for this long-term restoration, and we'd be okay with that too.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were all... Hold for skateboard. We were all so excited to have won this $100,000 grant, and we found out later on that a lot of the workers in City Hall East passed around when the LA 2050 grant opened. They passed around the Triforium project. They're like, "Oh man, someone's like trying to raise serious money for the Triforium, finally!" So it really helped our campaign because there's so much pent-up want for this to work that we were able to leverage that.
And one more thing about people not spending time here or no one coming through here. There are thousands of city employees that come through the plaza and park in this parking lot underneath us every day. So just to give them a little bit of happiness every day would be huge for us.
Yeah, we want it to be an interactive urban light. Chris Burden's urban light at LACMA is a huge draw. Why can't we have it here? Why can't this be an interactive urban light?
We just want to be another pin on your Instagram map.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, cultural content.
Weddings. We want a lot of wedding photos here.
Yeah.
All right.
Real zany.
I'm holding this now.
Burner weddings.
There's a lot of goodwill. I mean, people in the city, there's a lot of people who remember. I mean, this building across the way over here used to be the Los Angeles Children's Museum.
Right. Shout out to the Los Angeles Children's Museum. Went there as a 7-year-old. Probably, arguably one of the best children's museums I ever went to. Loved it as a kid.
But a lot of people of a certain generation remember going to this children's museum and going out here and playing with the triforium lights. There's a lot of beautiful stories. Last time we had a meeting with the DCA, the receptionist working at the DCA, the Department of Cultural Affairs, an older woman, when she found out that we were with the Triforium Project, hold for sound. Come on.
I'll leave this in. I'll just speed it up.
All right. Yeah, I mean, this is part of it, right? Okay.
Check.
When the receptionist at the Department of Cultural Affairs here found out that we were with the Triforium Project, she told us this amazing story about how when she was younger, she would pick up her husband after work late at night. He works somewhere downtown. She would pick him up. She would pick up her kids from sports or something, and then she would go pick up her husband, and the whole family would drive past the Triforium every night, and they would park the car and they would get out and they would dance with the lights as a family on the plaza. And then, as she told us the story, you could tell she was getting emotional because it was a meaningful thing for her. So the Triforium is part of the sort of LA consciousness for a lot of people, and it's something that was very magic and beautiful and unexpected and brought a lot of joy to people's lives. And as much as it has been a cultural pariah, you can't take that away from people. So if we can bring that back for those people that had those experiences and also allow an entire other generation of Angelinos to have those experiences, that's a beautiful thing. I would be so happy to leave that mark on this city.
Very cool. And if you want to find out more about it, it is triforium.la.
LA. Yep.
And go check it out. And thanks for watching. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Get lit, Los Angeles.
Hashtag.
We're trying to figure out our hashtag.
You know what? Hold it. We're coming back with that one. You got to copyright that quickly.
It used to be hashtag light up LA, but that's too generic.
Yeah, get lit LA.
Get lit LA.
Get lit LA.
Love it.
The Design Hardware Showroom is a space where specifiers can go and find an incredible selection of high-end faucets, luxury tile, natural stone, wood floors, and bespoke hardware, and so much more. Select products are presented in a holistic manner, strategically arranged to stimulate creativity and transition your vision from the conceptual stage to a fully realized space. You will find everything you're looking for, even the products by brands you didn't know you didn't know. Surprise and delight. Am I right? All under one roof on 3rd Street in Los Angeles, just up the street from the Grove. Conveniently located, free parking available. Stop by to find inspiration, collect samples, get expert advice, and tackle everything on your specification list all in one place. Visit them online at designhardware.com, at Design Hardware and Flooring on the socials, or in the real world, 6053 West 3rd Street in Los Angeles. Thank you, Scott. Ibiza sounds nice. Thank you, Yacht and Triforium Project, for the refresher. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. In case I hadn't said it before, which I have, but I appreciate it. If you like this episode, share it with a friend, colleague, or someone else you know who loves design and architecture the way you do. Subscribe to Convo by Design wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and continue the conversation on Instagram at Convo by Design with an X. And keep those emails coming, please, with guest suggestions, show ideas, and locations where you'd like to see the show. Convo by Design at Outlook.com. Thank you to my partner sponsors, TimberTech, the AZ Company, Pacific Sales, Best Buy, Loam AI, and Design Hardware. These companies support the shelter industry, so please give them an opportunity on your next project. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, be well, stay focused, and rise above the chaos.